Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome to Regular Josh 1. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button in this video, and if you're new, subscribe. This was kind of very unexpected. I didn't think I was even going to make a video about this once this was announced, but I have a couple of thoughts about this announcement that Disney made yesterday during their earnings call. I do listen into their earnings call sometimes, you know, to see if there's any kind of like news, not necessarily that I want to talk about in this video. I barely talk about like Disney related stuff on this channel anyway, but either way, sometimes I want to kind of see if there's any announcements, maybe like if there's any new movies that we should expect to see down the pipeline. Is there any more new like expansions that we might get at the Disney parks? You know, I mainly listen for the Disney parks because I'm a big Disney park fan. I think I'm obviously not alone on this, but no one was expecting that Moana was going to have an announcement that it was getting a sequel, and that the sequel was coming out this year in November of this year. I think that's kind of the thing that makes it a little crazier. Like, it's one thing if you were to just say Moana is getting a sequel and the second movie is going to be coming out in 2026 or whatever. Like, that probably, well, actually, you know what, kind of thinking about it, that probably would be crazy news as well, because earlier on in 2023, it literally was announced that Moana is getting a live action remake. Now, see, here's the thing about Moana, okay? I've never seen the film. Never seen the movie. I know a couple of the songs, one of them, unfortunately, because they play it over and over and over again to the point where I can't stand it. It's not a bad song, might I add. I'm not saying it's a bad song, but I just can't listen to it anymore because like they just overplay it. It's insane. But either way, I've never seen the movie. I never knew how big of a franchise Moana was. I never knew it was gonna be as big. I always think when it comes to like a big movie princess franchise for Disney, I always think of Frozen. I would have thought that Frozen was still like considered their number one, like, I guess, Disney princess franchise for right now, right? But again, I would have had no idea that it was Moana. Again, a live action remake is in the works, which I think is freaking insane. Hasn't even been 10 years yet. That is way too soon for a live action remake. But also, enough with these live action remakes, Disney, okay? Like, please stop. Like, good Lord, okay? I don't even want to get into that. I'm not going to get into that in this video. If you guys remember, I think it was around 2019 or was it 2018? I don't fully remember necessarily, but they also announced like a new slew of like exclusive Disney Plus shows. They announced Zootopia Plus. They announced Monsters at Work. They announced Tiana, the series, or just Tiana, I think. And they also announced Moana. Moana was going to get a series on Disney Plus. And then since then, the only shows that we really heard about and saw anything from was Monsters at Work, which is going to get a second season, which I think is going to come out this year, and Zootopia Plus. That was it. With Tiana, we barely heard anything about Tiana. We don't know where that's going. And then with Moana, the series, we haven't heard a lot about that particular show either. We didn't know how many episodes it was going to get. We didn't know, I guess, like what kind of like, I guess, adventures that they were going to go on. All we knew was that it was going to be a musical adventure. That, at least to me, that's all I really knew about when it came to the Moana series. We just didn't really know much about the series, and we didn't hear all that much about it since they announced it. Well, it turns out, and now with this announcement that Moana is getting a sequel, what essentially this second movie is a condensed, I would have to assume it's a condensed version of the Moana series that we were going to get on Disney Plus. And now that's being turned into a theatrical film in November of 2024. Now, here's the reason why I kind of want to talk about this. Kind of, I guess, for two reasons, and I'll go over the first one. Is this a smart move for Disney? I would probably have to say yes. I think it's clear, obviously, as we know, that we had the strikes last year, the writer's strike and the actor's strike. And so because of that, all of these productions, or a majority of these productions, were forced to shut down, and they couldn't continue, because if you don't have writers and you don't have actors, you have literally nothing. You can't do anything, right? So because of that, it caused a lot of these companies to lose a lot of money, and they had to delay so many films. So, of course, with that happening, I'm pretty sure Disney literally had like no animated feature coming out in 2024. I'm not counting Pixar. The Walt Disney Animation Studios did not have an animated film coming out for this year. So I think them having to announce a Moana film probably makes sense, so they have an animated movie coming out this year. And also, considering the fact that Moana is such a big franchise, with it being the most streamed movie on Disney Plus of 2023, or I think maybe of the past couple of years or something like that, yeah, it makes sense for them to move the series from Disney Plus to the theaters. Because also the other thing is streaming is not really doing great right now, and it's clear that these studios are kind of trying to move a little bit away from how they were approaching streaming, and they're trying to go back to theatrical releases, or more theatrical releases, and probably more television releases maybe. Not 100% sure about that, but either way, yeah, I think it makes sense to put this series as a movie and putting it in the theaters, because that's probably going to make them millions of dollars. Could that potentially make them $1 billion at the box office? Maybe. And Lord knows Disney needs a film to make them $1 billion at the box office, because 2023 was not a good year for them at all when it came to films. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy movie made, I think, close to $1 billion, if not $1 billion at the box office. So that was like, honestly, their only major like success for the year 2023. Whereas almost all the other films that came out in this year or of last year did not make close to $1 billion. And a lot of them also lost a lot of money. Wish did not even make their money back. Yeah, they made $200 million at the box office eventually, but they spent $200 million to even make the film, and probably another $200 million on marketing. So that's a major flop. So of course they had to make some business decisions here, and that's why you have Moana, the series, being made into a sequel. Now, I do have a little bit of a concern when it comes to this, because now I will say, based on what we saw from, like, say, Zootopia Plus and Monsters at Work, right? The animation, I would say, is fairly on par with what you see in the films, right? The animation, I would say, has been pretty good. I would say it's very close to, like, again, what you would possibly have seen in the theaters, right? But I think a concern that I have, right, is how exactly are they going to turn this series into a movie? Are they going to be able to do that? And also, it kind of makes me wonder, has there been some, like, reworking of the script entirely, where, you know, they had to take, like, maybe some of the more story-driven, like, moments of each episode that they originally probably wrote for and put it in the script? And again, is that going to work? And I think the other thing to mention is, were all of these episodes technically going to be, like, different adventures, or was it going to be, like, one overarching story where it's very cohesive, where it is kind of different adventures, but it all kind of connects, you know? But yeah, again, I find it interesting that we're getting a second movie from a series, but maybe it is a smart business move from Disney. Again, they had a pretty rough year in 2023, so it's going to be interesting to see what other decisions we're going to see from the Disney company for the rest of this year. It's going to be interesting to see that for all of these other companies as well. So yeah. But that's about all I have to say about this topic. I want to know what your thoughts. Have you guys seen the Moana movie? And if you have, are you excited about Moana getting a second movie? And are you also kind of sharing the same concerns as I do? Is it going to be worthy of a theatrical release? And is it going to be a cohesive story, or a coherent story from whatever the series was going to be? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell to be notified on my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, you're hearing it from a regular bunny in a regular world. See you next time.